You wouldn't believe how this one thing from 2 years ago still creeps me out, like it hits me at the weirdest times, middle of a shift or when I'm trying to sleep, and bam, I'm right back there in that galley, heart pounding. I mean, I was always the guy who laughed off ghost stories, you know? Skeptical as hell, figuring everything's got a rational explanation if you just look hard enough. But this turned me around. Made me a believer in whatever weird shit's out there that we can't explain. And I was so damn naive back then, thinking I could just power through anything with a bit of determination, like mop it up and move on. Anyway, let me tell you what happened, step by step, because I need to get this out. It's like sharing it might make it less heavy on me. So, picture this. I'm Quentin, right? 35 now, but this was 2 years back, working as a waiter on this massive cruise ship, the kind that sails overnight voyages between ports, all fancy dining services and whatnot. I specialized in the evening shifts, you see, serving up lobster and steaks to these rich folks who tip like kings if you smile just right. The galley was my domain. Stainless steel counters everywhere. Utensils hanging from hooks like some industrial chandelier, soft overhead lights buzzing faintly, the whole place smelling of garlic and seared meat even after hours. We'd finish service around midnight. The crew would scatter to their quarters or hit the bars on deck, but me, I was the determined type, always volunteering to stay behind and clean up solo. Figured it built character or some naive bullshit like that. Plus, it got me brownie points with the head chef. That night, God, it was just like any other, or so I thought. The ship was cutting through the waves, that low hum of the engines vibrating up through the floors, and the air in the galley was warm from all the ovens we'd been running. I remember wiping down the counters, stacking plates with that satisfying clink, feeling the usual post-shift exhaustion settling in my bones, like my feet were screaming for a break. But then, out of nowhere, this fleeting chill hit me, right across my arms, like someone cranked open a freezer door for a second. I shook it off, rationalizing it as maybe a draft from the vents or the AC kicking in funny. 'Cause ships have all sorts of air systems, right? No big deal, I told myself. Just keep mopping. I was alone, the rest of the crew gone, and that isolation started to feel a tad heavier than usual, but I pushed through, determined not to let a little cold snap mess with my head. Hell, I'd worked plenty of late nights before, listening to the distant pop of waves against the hull or the faint crackle of the ship's radio from the bridge echoing down the halls. Nothing ever fazed me. Or so I thought. As I moved on to organizing the supplies, that's when things escalated, and I mean it built up slow, like tension in a bad dream you can't shake. I was heading toward the storage room at the back of the galley. It's this cramped space, basically a big walk-in pantry, with shelves of dry goods, canned stuff, and extra linens, all dimly lit by one of those flickering fluorescent bulbs. The door was ajar, which wasn't unusual, but as I got closer, I heard it. These indistinct whispers echoing faintly like muffled conversations from inside. Not English, not anything I recognized. Sounded like some unknown language, all hushed and overlapping, like a couple of people murmuring secrets. My first thought, okay, maybe some crew snuck in there for a smoke break or a quick chat, avoiding the deck cameras. I mean, it happens on ships, people finding hidey holes to vent or whatever. But I was skeptical, you know? Determined to check it out rationally, not jump to conclusions like some naive kid scared of shadows. So I pushed the door open wider, stepping in, and nothing. The room was empty, shelves all neat, no one hiding behind the stacks of flour sacks or anything, but the whispers kept going, getting a bit clearer, like they were right there in the air, bouncing off the metal walls. I froze, heart picking up, trying to listen. Was it coming from the vents? Maybe the ship's radio picking up some interference, static turning into voices? Nah, that didn't fit. The radio was way up on the bridge, and this sounded too close, too personal. I backtracked in my mind, thinking, wait, did I hear someone earlier? No. The galley had been dead quiet except for my own shuffling. That chill from before? It intensified right then, like frost creeping up my spine, making the hairs on my neck stand up even though the storage room was stuffy as hell. I rationalized it again, probably just the ship's cooling system acting up, or my tired brain playing tricks after a long shift. But deep down, I was getting uneasy, you feel me? Like, what if it was something else? Determined not to freak out, I fumbled for the light switch, flipping on every damn bulb in there, the main one, the backups, flooding the place with harsh white light. And just like that, the whispers ceased, snapped off mid-murmur, leaving this ringing silence. I stood there, breathing heavy, scanning the room again. Empty. Totally empty. That's when I spotted it on the floor, right in the middle, where I'd swear nothing was before. This single, antique pocket watch. Ornate gold thing with intricate engravings like vines or some old-timey patterns, and the clock face stopped dead at 3:17, hands frozen. There was this faint glimmer on it, catching the light like it had been polished recently. I picked it up, turning it over. No inscriptions, no name, nothing. How the hell did it get there? I hadn't seen it when I first walked in, and no one else had been around. My mind raced. Maybe it fell from a shelf? But those shelves were for food stock, not random junk. Or perhaps a passenger lost it earlier and it rolled in. But that didn't make sense. The storage room was staff only, locked most of the time. I pocketed it, hands shaking a little. That chill still lingering like I'd stepped into a ravine of cold air, and hightailed it out of there, locking the door behind me. Part of me wanted to laugh it off, tell myself I was being naive, overthinking a coincidence. But damn, it felt off. Way off. The next morning, back in my crew quarters, this tiny bunk room shared with a couple other guys smelling of salt and old socks, I pulled out that watch and really examined it. Sat on my bed, the ship rocking gently as we neared port, and I just stared at the thing. The engravings were so detailed, like something a poet or a merchant from way back would have carried. All fancy and worn at the edges. Clock face still stopped, no ticking, no way to wind it that I could find. I tried to rationalize the whole night. Maybe the whispers were echoes from the deck above, crew chatting through the vents in some language I didn't know, like Spanish or whatever. And the watch could have been there all along, and I just missed it in the dim light. My eyes playing tricks. That intensified chill? Ship's AC, for sure. Or my own nerves firing up. But I was determined to get answers, you know? Not gonna let some naive fear take over without checking. So, I headed back to the galley during the day shift, watch in my pocket, and started asking around casually. Hey, anyone lose a pocket watch? Found this antique-looking thing in storage last night. The head chef shook his head busy chopping onions. Nah, Quentin, never seen anything like that. We don't keep personal crap in there. I hit up the other waiters, the dishwashers, even radioed up to the bridge crew, figuring maybe someone from maintenance had been in there. No one recalled similar items, no lost and found reports, no owner stepping up to claim it. One guy, This old-timer who'd been sailing for decades joked about ship ghosts or something, but I brushed it off, still skeptical, trying to explain it away as a prank or a mix-up. But deep down, it nagged at me. The whispers stopping when I lit up the room. The watch appearing like it had been dropped from nowhere. That chill had faded by morning. No more frost in the air, but the memory of it stuck like a snap in my gut, reminding me something wasn't right. I ended up keeping the watch, stashed it in my locker, figuring if no one claimed it, it was mine now. No further incidents after that. No more whispers, no weird finds. But every shift since, especially late at night in that galley, I'd feel this lingering unease, like the empty spaces were watching. I'd double-check the storage room, flip on all the lights just in case, determined not to let it rattle me. But yeah, it did. Look, I know it sounds crazy, like something out of a movie, but that's exactly how it went down. I've turned it over in my head 1,000 times, trying to poke holes in it. Maybe I was more exhausted than I thought, hallucinating the whispers from the ship's hum or radio static bleeding through. The watch could have been wedged under a shelf and dislodged when I walked in, that glimmer, just the light hitting it funny. And the chill, well, ships are full of drafts, right? Rational stuff. But here's the thing that gets me, even now. Why did the whispers stop dead when I turned on the lights? And how come no one, not a single soul on that massive ship, knew a damn thing about that watch? It turned me from a total skeptic into someone who believes there's more out there, stuff we can't explain. I was so naive back then, thinking I could just muscle through with determination. But this, it lingers. I still have the watch, tucked away in a drawer at home, now that I'm off the ships for a bit. Sometimes I take it out, feel its weight, and wonder whose it was. What those whispers were saying makes me shiver, like that frost is back. If you're ever on a cruise alone in those quiet spots late at night, listen close, and maybe keep the lights on. Trust me, it changed how I see the world, left me with this quiet dread that pops up when I least expect it. Anyway, that's my story. Still freaks me out to this day.